Hi everyone, and welcome to the second mandatory video for the Y4Y digital media contest. In this video, we're going to build on the information that was covered in the last video. So if you haven't watched that one yet, please pause here and go watch that one first. In this video, we'll talk about the contest topics in more detail. We're going to explain how each of these topics blurs the lines between gambling and gaming. When we say blurred lines, we mean that it becomes unclear whether the activity we're participating in is gambling or gaming. Each topic in this video will follow the same format. We'll introduce and define the topic, then we'll explain how the activity becomes gambling, and lastly, we'll review some relevant harm reduction strategies for that activity. Each topic is phrased as a question, as you'll see on the contest rules document and throughout this video. The topics were chosen because they're popular activities that youth currently participate in. Before we jump into the 4 contest topics, I want to quickly review what is required in each of the different submission types. So for poster submissions, we ask that you answer one of the 4 questions and also include a relevant harm reduction strategy and a relevant resource for support. For video submissions, you must again answer one of the 4 questions and also include a relevant harm reduction strategy and resource. Contestants are welcome to submit a poster or a video, or if they're interested, they can submit both a poster and a video. For more information on what is required in each of the submissions, please read the rules document carefully. As we reviewed in the last video, our program defines gambling as risking something of value when you don't know if you will win or lose. It's important to keep this definition in mind as we go through each of the contest topics. So for the contest topics, we've phrased each of them as a question to more clearly outline what we want you to cover in your submission. For posters, there is 1 question to answer, and for videos, there are 3. The first topic we're going to cover is the freemium model. For poster submissions, please answer the following question. How does the freemium model present itself in a way that is similar to gambling? For video submissions, please answer the following 3 questions. What is the freemium model? How does the freemium model present itself in a way that is similar to gambling? Why is it important that youth know this? So the freemium model is a type of game or app that is free to download, but players have the option to pay for in-app features. This slide outlines some examples of the freemium model and the different opportunities that exist within these games to make purchases. Candy Crush offers players the chance to pay for an extra shot at a level. Clash of Clans allows you to pay to avoid wait times. Now, is paying for an in-game item or an extra chance at a level gambling? Let's go over an example to more clearly understand how the freemium model can become gambling. On the screen here, we have the game Candy Crush. In Candy Crush, you have 3 lives. Once you use up your 3 lives, you can either wait 20 minutes or you can pay $1.99 for an additional life. The additional life gives you another chance to try the level again. However, whether you pay for the lives or you wait 20 minutes, the outcome of the game is the same. This is because the candies that drop down are random, regardless of if you pay or you wait. So, if you pay for additional lives, you're risking your money or your in-game currency on an outcome that you cannot control. Is this gambling? Based on our definition, it is. We define gambling as risking something of value when you do not know if you'll win or lose. If you're purchasing lives rather than waiting 20 minutes, you're risking your money when you don't know if you'll win or lose that level because the outcome is out of your control. We're not saying that there's no skill involved at all, but we are saying that you cannot control the candies that drop down, meaning ultimately you don't know if you'll win or lose the level. So, how does the freemium model blur the lines between gaming and gambling? The outcome of the game is random or chance-based, and you cannot guarantee that you'll win the next level. When you pay to play, you're paying for the chance to advance in the game. The chances of the game aren't changing whether you pay or wait. The odds remain the same. It's important to note that not all freemium model payments or purchases are considered gambling. For example, if you're paying to purchase an in-game item or if you're purchasing in-game currencies, you're simply making a transaction. This wouldn't be gambling. It becomes gambling when you're paying for another chance at a level because the outcome is out of your control. So over the past few slides, I've talked about making in-game purchases within the freemium model. What valuables can be used to make these in-game purchases? Well, each game kind of has their own virtual currency, but they're commonly found as gems, coins, or points. There are two ways that you can acquire the virtual currencies. First, you can earn it through gameplay. This is still considered a valuable because it costs you your time. What we mean by this is that the more you play the game, the more coins that you would earn. You're exchanging your time for the currency, making it valuable. Next, you can purchase the virtual currency with real-world money. There are a couple ways you can do this. You can use a Visa, a prepaid Visa, or a gift card to load money onto your accounts. However, when you do this, the currency changes into the in-game currency, and the value changes too. For example, $10 Canadian may translate into 20,000 gems or 300 points within your game. Do you think that it becomes easier to spend money when it changes into these virtual currencies? By changing the money into another value and by making it virtual, it becomes easier for the player to spend. This is because the player will forget about the consequences or implications of spending much easier. It doesn't feel like you're spending real money. Virtual currency separates the actions of spending. This is similar to casino chips in the casino. When you purchase poker chips in the casino, players may forget that they represent real-world money because they're an abstraction. Another example I like to use is tapping your debit card. When you tap your debit card, it becomes easier to spend because you're not thinking about the actual action that you're participating in. This theme is relevant for all 4 of the contest topics, so it's important to keep in mind what valuables exist, how they get them into the game, and that it's easier to spend them than real-world money. Before we wrap up the topic of the freemium model, I want to talk about how else the freemium model generates revenue. Within the freemium model games, there are often advertisements that players can watch in order to progress in the game or to avoid wait times. These advertisements are often for other freemium model games or free gambling websites and apps. Often the advertisements on the freemium model games are for free gambling websites. Free gambling sites are a form of freemium models. They allow players to play for free and often invite them to move their game onto the pay-for sites. Some people call free gambling sites or apps practice gambling sites because you can play without loading money on. However, gambling is a chance-based activity, not skill-based. This means you cannot get better with practice. Free gambling sites or apps have better odds and inflated payouts. This makes players believe that they are better or more skilled at the game, and they experience the thrill of winning more often. Players may be more likely to move to the real gambling sites because they want to continue to feel the success, and they may want to win real-world currency. However, when they transfer to these pay-for sites, the odds go back to being in the game developer's favor, and the player will not win as often as they did on the free sites. When choosing your contest topic, you could also focus on free gambling sites because they're a form of freemium models. So what are some harm reduction strategies for the freemium model? First would be waiting the time period instead of paying in games like Candy Crush or Clash of Clans. Next would be to read the terms and conditions of the games you're playing. Set a limit on how much money you will spend on the game per month. And remember, this is part of your entertainment budget. Set a time limit on your phone for the amount of time spent on the app. Have an alternative activity planned for when you run out of lives. And consider the risks before connecting your credit card to the game. Remember that when you're doing your video or your poster, the harm reduction strategy that you choose should be relevant to the topic of your video. This slide outlines some freemium-specific resources. Remember, the resource you include in your submission needs to be relevant to the topic and harm reduction strategy that you discuss. For example, if you talk about setting a budget as your harm reduction strategy, you may want to include a budgeting app like Mint or EveryDollar as your resource. Or if you're talking about finding another activity to do when you wait for your lives to regenerate in a game, you may want to include Game Quitters, which is a website that can help you find new activities. Please check out the resource document for more information on each of these resources. Next, we're going to talk about casino-style games that are found in video games. For poster submissions, you must answer the question, casino-style games can be found within video games. How does this blur the lines between gambling and gaming? For video questions, we ask that you answer the following questions. Casino-style games can be found in video games. How may this blur the lines between gambling and gaming? Why is it important that youth know this? Casino-style games that are found in video games can add a competitive and enticing nature to the games. They're fun and engaging, which is why they're included, but we're going to talk a bit more about why they blur the lines between gambling and gaming. Video games and App Store games now include gambling-like activities that are chance-based, such as slot machines or roulette wheels. This allows players to wager in-game currency on an outcome that is out of their control to win potential in-game advantages. The photo included here is from a game called Plants vs. Zombies, where players can participate in a slot machine activity to get additional bonuses. Some other examples in other games include picking a card or spinning a roulette wheel. Sometimes you can participate in this activity every 12 hours, sometimes it's every 24 hours, or sometimes you're given the opportunity once you've hit a certain milestone within the game. When playing these games, you can play with in-game currency or real-world money. To review, when I say in-game currency, we're talking about gems, coins, or points that can be acquired through gameplay, or they can be purchased with real-world money. Real-world money can be put into the virtual world with Visa cards, gift cards, or prepaid visas. As we talked about previously, spending virtual currency is easier than spending real-world money. These things are still considered valuables even if you earned them through gameplay because you've traded in your time in the game to earn these points. This slide just presents some more examples of games that include casino-style activities. So how do these casino-style activities found in video games blur the lines between gambling and gaming? These elements blur the lines between chance and skill, which we explained in more detail in the first video. Gambling activities are games of chance. You cannot get better at gambling activities with practice. Video games are mostly games of skill. You can get better at video games with practice. By combining skill and chance in a game, players may falsely believe that they can get better at the games of chance, i.e. the gambling activities, with practice. I want to quickly review another example that clearly demonstrates how the lines between gaming and gambling become blurred. The photo on the screen is from the game Grand Theft Auto. The player is being told that their gambling skill is not high enough to play at this table. To be able to join that table, the player must go and gamble more to increase their gambling skill, in quotations, within the game. Why may this be problematic? We know that gambling is a game of chance, which means you cannot get better at it with practice. This game may falsely lead players to believe that gambling is a skill-based activity and that they can practice to improve at it. However, this is not true. If a player increases their gambling skill within the game and then enters the casino in the real world, they may falsely believe that they are more skilled at the activity because of the game. This is how the lines between gambling and gaming can become blurred when casino-style elements are incorporated into video games. Again, casino-style games found in video games can make the game really exciting and engaging for players. There are some ways that we can reduce the harms associated with this. First, look out for the chance-based elements within the game and stay informed. What is the difference between chance and skill? What are my odds here? And what are the signs of a problem? Consider using only your free turns or only in-game currency rather than real-world money. Have a plan B of other things to do, set a budget, and always read the terms and conditions before playing the game. Lastly, consider the risks before attaching your credit card onto the game. Again, this slide has some relevant resources for this topic. The resource that you include in your video or poster should be pertaining to the topic you've discussed. Check out the resource document for more information on each of these resources. Next, we're going to talk about loot boxes and mystery chests. For poster submissions, the question is, how do loot boxes or mystery chests present themselves in a way that is similar to gambling? For videos, the question is, what are loot boxes and mystery chests? How does purchasing loot boxes present itself in a way that is similar to gambling? Why is it important that youth know this? Loot boxes and mystery chests are two different names for the same idea. We use the terms interchangeably. A loot box is a virtual container that contains an in-game item called a skin. Players can pay to unlock the loot box, but they do not know what's inside the loot box until they have unlocked it. You can use real-world or virtual currency to unlock the loot box. Loot boxes are an enticing way for players to enrich their gaming experience. You can see on the screen here we have two examples of loot boxes. So within a loot box is a skin. What's a skin? A skin is a decorative virtual weapon or item. A skin can be earned through gameplay, purchased with virtual or real-world currency, or, as we've just mentioned, it can be acquired through loot boxes. The value of the skin is dependent on its rarity, meaning that some are more valuable than others if they're more rare. Most of the time, skins don't improve your ability in the game. They're mostly cosmetics, but they give you some other advantages too. Skins are often seen as a status symbol within the game. Skins can be purchased on third-party sites or on websites like Kijiji, and purchasing a skin like this is not gambling. However, there are ways that skins can become gambling. If you were to go onto a third-party site like Kijiji and purchase a skin, it is not gambling. You're simply making a transaction. However, skins can be used to place bets with. This is called skin betting. There are a few different ways that this can happen. Someone may bet on the outcome of a game with their friends, which is more of an informal way that skin betting takes place. Or there are third-party sites that are unregulated that allow you to place bets through them. Again, skin betting is not regulated as closely, so it may not always have fair practices. We're going to talk more about skin betting when we talk about esports in a few slides. Here, we just want to outline that skins are seen as a valuable that can be used to place bets with. So let's go back to talking about loot boxes. How do loot boxes blur the lines between gambling and gaming? When you pay to unlock a loot box within a game, you're risking something of value, either your virtual or real-world currency, and you do not know what you will receive. The item inside is random and out of your control. This means that you're risking something of value and you don't know if you'll win or lose. Based on our definition, purchasing keys to unlock loot boxes is considered gambling. Games often advertise the most rare prizes that can be acquired in the loot box, just like the lottery advertises the grand prize. This may entice players to make a purchase. Also, like I previously mentioned, loot boxes can be unlocked by purchasing keys. Sometimes games will give you 10 free loot boxes, but they'll only give you one key, which can only unlock one of the loot boxes. This means that you have to use your in-game currency to purchase more keys to unlock the loot boxes that the game has given you. This is another way that the game may entice you to make a purchase. So, what are some ways that we can reduce the harm of loot boxes and mystery chests? First, research the odds and probabilities of the loot box before you open them. A lot of the time, it just takes a quick Google search to look up the game and the loot box that you're planning to open, and they'll tell you the odds of getting the rare or desired skins. It's also a good idea to read the terms and conditions of the game that you're playing and set a money limit. Do not risk something or an amount that you cannot afford to lose. Protect your personal information online, beware of credit card fraud, and, of course, hope to win but expect to lose. This means that hope that you win the desired skin you're looking for, but expect that you're probably not going to get it. Here are some relevant resources that can be included in your submission if you're talking about loot boxes and mystery chests. Again, the resource that you talk about needs to pertain to the topic you've discussed in your video or poster. Next, we're going to talk about esports. For poster submissions, you need to answer the question, how does betting on esports, which is a game of skill, blur the lines between gambling and gaming? For video submissions, you need to answer the following questions. What is esports betting? How does betting on esports, which is a game of skill, blur the lines between gambling and gaming? Why is it important that youth know this? So, esports is an industry where gamers compete within video games. It's similar to other traditional sports with teams, leagues, fans, and sponsorships. As an industry, esports is predicted to reach $1 billion in profit in 2019, and there's over 200 million fans around the globe. Just like other sports, people can bet on the outcome of esports. Placing a bet on the outcome of an esports match is gambling. We know this because of our previous video where we defined gambling as risking something of value when you don't know if you will win or lose. If you remember from the first video, there are 3 components to this definition: risk, valuable, and a prize. Betting on the outcome of esports has all 3 components. With risk, the outcome of the match is outside of your control. There are many variables that you cannot predict that will impact the outcome of the match. Next is valuable. The valuable would be the item or currency that you're wagering on the activity. Lastly is prize. This is what you'll receive in return if you win the bet. I'm going to break down a few of the ways that the lines between gaming and gambling become blurred through esports. So, the first way that the lines between gaming and gambling become blurred with esports pertains to risk. In a hypothetical situation, you're gambling on the outcome of the esports match, and you cannot predict the outcome 100%. Let me explain. You're going to watch 2 teams compete. One team has better statistics, they've won more often, they're objectively a better team, so you're confident in wagering your valuables on them winning. However, there are many variables that can impact the outcome of the match that you cannot predict. For instance, what if the best player is feeling under the weather that day and has difficulty focusing, or maybe doesn't attend at all? What if the underestimated team has a new play strategy that no one knows about? There are many examples of factors that can influence the outcome of the game that cannot be predicted. Therefore, it's a risk because you cannot predict the outcome. We can break down risk even further by remembering the difference between skill and chance. Video games are mostly games of skill. Like football, you can get better with practice. An advanced player will do better than a novice player. This is different from games of chance. A player cannot get better at games of chance with practice. A novice player will have the same amount of luck as an advanced player. Betting on the outcome of esports blurs the lines between these 2 things because the game is a game of skill, but betting on the outcome is a game of chance. This combination blurs the lines between gambling and gaming. The last way that betting on esports blurs the lines pertains to skins. When placing a bet on the outcome of an esports match, you need to wager a valuable. Often, skins are the valuable that is used to place a bet. This also blurs the lines between gaming and gambling for a few reasons. First, skins can be acquired with points you've earned through gameplay, or they can be purchased with real-world money. As we've talked about previously, in-game points are often easier to wager or to spend because they're an abstraction of real money. You can also use real-world money to buy skins. This means you're spending your money to purchase an item that you will then go on to wager. This is similar to buying poker chips that represent real-world money to place a bet with in the casino. The skin therefore becomes another form of currency. Lastly, skins can be acquired through loot boxes, which we've already reviewed. When you pay to open a loot box, you don't know what's inside, which makes it a gambling activity. The skin that you purchase through the loot box can then be used to bet. Therefore, skins and skin betting within esports blurs the lines between gaming and gambling. It's also important to note that many of the websites that facilitate these bets are unregulated. This means that they're not as reliable or trustworthy. It's important to always read the terms and conditions before putting your account or your credit card on these websites. So those are the 3 ways that the lines between gaming and gambling are blurred with esports betting. Here are some ways we can reduce the harm with this activity. First, read the terms and conditions and read reliable online reviews to ensure the site that you're using is trustworthy. It may be a good idea to only participate in esports betting with people that you trust, like your friends and family. Set a money limit or a skin limit and only spend from your entertainment budget. Remember, don't risk something that you cannot afford to lose. Whenever playing online, it's important to protect your personal information and be aware of online fraud. Remember, esports betting can be a fun activity, but by using these harm reduction strategies, we can make sure that we're always playing safe. Here are some relevant resources that you may choose to include. As you can see, they've been organized by to learn more, to get support, or harm reduction resources. You're free to use any type of resource as long as it's relevant to the topic you discussed. So that concludes the second video for the Y4Y Digital Media Contest. This slide outlines your next steps. First, you're prepared to pick one of the 4 questions as the topic for your submission. Your submission must also include a relevant harm reduction strategy and resource. Your submission needs to use a balanced and neutral approach towards gambling. Please make sure that you review all of the other resources you received in your registration email. If you're unsure of what resources I'm talking about, go back to the first mandatory video. The last slide in that video outlines the resources you've received. Finally, the next steps are to schedule a phone call with the contest organizer. However, you cannot schedule this phone call until you've picked the topic for your submission. During this phone call, you can ask any clarifying questions about the contest and also about your topic. Thank you so much for watching, and best of luck in creating your submission.